In this week's Parsha, Parshas Chukas, we have a story which may be one of the most difficult to understand, perhaps in the entire Chumash. And to that I'm referring to the story where Hashem commands Moshe to speak to a rock and let it bring forth its water. And Moshe, instead of speaking, hits the rock. It does produce a miracle, water comes forth. But the result of it is that Moshe is denied access to the land of Israel. How do we understand the story? What's the essence of it? What's the difference between hitting and speaking? And why does it matter? A miracle is produced in either way. And not only that, 39 years ago, there was a water shortage at Rephidim, and Moshe was told to hit a rock. It produced water. Yet now he's told to speak to a rock. And by not speaking and hitting, Hashem says, no, Moshe, you can't come into the land. What's the connection? So just for a little background, we know this is now the 39th year of the desert. We're about to enter that final transitional year, the 40th year, and the well of Miriam, it dries up. The well that accompanied us for 39 years. The miraculous spring that sustained millions of people in the desert is no longer there, or it dries. And there's, as obvious, panic, and they come to Moshe and they say, we need water. So Hashem says, okay, Moshe, take your staff, but dibartim elaselav v'nasanas meimav, speak to a stone and let it bring forth its waters. You know, that language, nasanas meimav, let it bring forth something that it possesses. Interesting language. Speak and allow it to bring forth something that it has. Now in the panic, Moshe can't identify the right stone. It's not so clear. Something happens. He tries speaking. It doesn't work. And he goes back to the old way he hits. And a miracle happens. But Hashem's response is, Moshe, you lost an opportunity to sanctify my name. Lo amantim bi, you didn't trust me like the sheni l'nei b'nei Israel. You didn't trust me, and therefore you lost the opportunity to bring them out to the enormous Kiddush Hashem. What was that Kiddush Hashem? So Rashi says that the people would have understood a stone that doesn't need Hashem. A stone that has no needs, yet there's something inside of it that instinctively wants to do the will of Hashem. How much more so we? We need Hashem, and of course there's something inside of us that wants to do the will of Hashem, our neshama, which is a part of Hashem. Moshe lost the opportunity to teach that. And not only that, it says that had Moshe taught that, our sages speculated and say that the Jewish nation would have been on such a high level, there never would have been a destruction of the first temple 1,000 years later. This was a lost opportunity. But what opportunity was lost? To understand that, we really have to think a little bit about what's the difference between hitting and speaking. See, hitting forces change. You want a child to do something, you hit. You're not asking the child to make a decision, to go inside themselves and decide what's right. You need to force the change somehow. And in many ways, perhaps, we could say the desert was a hit because it was open miracles. The man, the well, the fire, the cloud, Hashem's appearance at Har Sinai. Open miracles. When they're open miracles, we'll respond, but we're not necessarily responding freely. We're responding because there is no other choice. And maybe the generation that came out of Egypt needed that. After 210 years of Egypt, 86 years of slavery, we needed that obviousness of Hashem's presence. And therefore somehow to understand clearly what's right. And that had to be the foundational idea that generation needed, and to teach it, give it over. But the new generation, we know that to come into the land of Israel, you could not have been over 20 when you left Egypt. So people coming in now are going to be people born in the desert, people under 20. And now we're going to a land of Israel where Hashem is going to hide. And one has to find Hashem in a different modality. One has to listen to words and go inside oneself and think about what one heard and decide what to do. It has to come from within ourselves. And now Moshe has an opportunity to teach. Moshe, teach the people when you speak to a stone that doesn't need Hashem, but there's something inside of it that intuitively wants to do what's right. If the people would see that, you would understand something so precious about themselves. There's something inside of me that wants to do something right. And that's the fuel, that's the ammunition that we need to withstand tests in this world and to face this world with all of its hiddenness. I want to do what's right, and I can look inside myself and know there's something that will come out if I'll just touch it in the right way. And the methodology is speech. You give over, a teacher gives over an idea. A parent gives us over an idea, or we give over an idea to ourselves, and we touch something inside of ourselves that we know wants to do what's right. That's the opportunity that Moshe lost. A stone possesses that. It would have produced the water. Nosidus Meinov, which means that it's almost like it would have decided what to do. Hashem's giving it, allowing it to make that decision, so to speak. But the lesson learned would have been a stone that doesn't need Hashem. How much more so we who need Hashem and possess a neshama? Of course we want to do what's right. That's my nature. That's my essence. Had we learned that about ourselves, we would have been a different nation. And Moshe's inability to give that over taught Hashem maybe something about Moshe, or Moshe about himself. Moshe, you were a teacher for the desert, where you could have forced instant growth. But the new world of Israel demands patience. It demands giving an over idea, letting a student work on that idea. That's a different type of relationship. It takes time, patience, and the courage to wait. Moshe, you were a wonderful teacher for the desert, but this now is a new world. And for that reason, Eretz Yisrael may frustrate you. So perhaps we should take this lesson to heart. To understand the world is such where we need words, we need to give over inspiration. And we have to understand that when we give over inspiration, there's something inside the heart of every human being that wants to do the will of Hashem. Something that wants to connect. And if we give over those words, we know there's a well of water ready to come out. Hashem should bless us to be able to give those words that inspire, to know what to say it in the right way, and have the patience to wait. And perhaps at the same way, give those words over to ourselves, speak to ourselves, and be confident that we have it inside of ourselves, that our core is we want to do what's right. And by knowing that about ourselves, that will give us the strength to succeed. B'ezrat Hashem, by doing such, we should be a nation that will rebuild the temple. B'mihar Avinu. Amen.